This is Renee Van Peebles, and you're watching Toilet Side Wrestling Talk.
Hi, this is Brad from Pro Wrestling Junkies, and welcome to another episode of Toilet Side Wrestling Talk. Today's guest is actually two people. We have a tag team. They've worked for such promotions as Global Pro Wrestling, Powerhouse Wrestling Extreme, Galley Lucha Libre, Chicagoland Championship Wrestling, and along the way, they've shared the ring with tag teams like Extreme Thunder, Point of View, The Syndicate, UWC Nation. So please welcome today's guests, a tag team who works fantastic in the ring. Don't know how that would translate to something like Pictionary or a game like that outside the ring, but maybe we'll find out. Who knows? I give you Matt Creed, Tom Heisman, Youth Gone Wild. Hey, fellas.
What's up?
How's it going?
How you guys doing today?
So far, so good. Busy day, but
minus all the political nonsense.
You heard about the election?
Oh God,
There's an election going on?
Well, it's like a raffle or a contest. I haven't put my finger on it yet, but it's down to two people. Yeah, that is so stressful. Jesus. I tried not
I'm glad it's over.
watch last. I know. I can't wait to be able to just like have a nice night's sleep, and just
right.
No
more
like,
Facebook posts or Twitter
yes,
posts.
I get 50 zillion emails a day, like people desperate for money. They need it so bad because they only have millions of dollars left, But like my $5, I need it so bad. So. So you guys worked the CCW show, and that was pretty awesome, and kind of came on the heels of Animals passing. So when you guys came out, it was a huge pop. And you were supposed to wrestle the Gotch brothers. I don't know what happened there, but were you familiar with the team that replaced them?
We knew who Axel Rico was. He actually came up.
Okay.
Yeah, he came up through, I think, CSW, was trained by Steve Boz, and he worked a few Powerhouse Wrestling events with us. The other guy, Jake Tyler, he was brand new to pretty much pro wrestling. I guess it was his first match.
Oh wow.
I give credit where credit is due. He did pretty well. Unfortunately, he didn't get the win, or should I say, fortunately, he didn't get the win.
Totally, or deserve it.
But no, we knew about Axel Rico, and that's about it. But we didn't know who our opponents were going to be, since the Gotch brothers decided they weren't going to show due to one of them actually catching COVID-19.
Oh Jesus!
So
So is it difficult then to work against opponents that you're, one of them at least, you're not familiar with at all, or do you?
I mean, honestly, we've been doing this for well over 10 years individually now. It's basically, same song, different dance. So, I mean, not really. I mean, sometimes it can be, depending on the wheelhouse that they work in, whether they're a brawler, technical, powerhouse, submission, stuff like that. But, I mean, we've worked with them all, from guys who are 5'10" to 6'10".
Okay.
So,
that's what's nice. We can change up our styles as we go. I mean, if something's not working in the ring that we're trying to do, we can always try. We have so much charisma that there's times that if I go in there and I'm getting beat down, Tom knows how to make the save, and then we'll regroup and we'll switch up our style just to make sure that we can get into their heads and beat them.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
It's the nice thing about Creed being more technical and, more submission savvy, and I'm just like the piss and vinegar brawler.
It's a Hart Foundation.
I don't give a damn kind of thing. So
you guys are Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart.
I guess.
Yeah, as far as the powerhouse and the technical wrestler.
I mean, I'm trying to grow the rest of the goat in so I can just sit there and fucking laugh. But
how long does this take?
I haven't shaved this in probably 4 or 5 years now, maybe longer.
Really? Wow. Do you have to maintain it at all?
Kinda.
Like, you mean like if food gets it?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'll wash it and I'll groom it up a little bit. The other day, I almost shaved the sides and had the the Victor from the Ascension. I was like,
Totally.
And I was like, if that don't work, I'll just shave everything, keep this, and go Ted Nugent.
Totally start over.
All right, I'm a little nervous to ask this question, but I'm going to do it anyways. Does every time you tell someone the name of your tag team, do they make a Skid Row reference?
Honestly, not anymore, no.
Really?
I think more people have realized that there have been other bands out there that use the song under their own preference and have done it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we don't even come out to the Skid Row version anymore.
Yeah.
Recently, we've gotten permission through the band Tempting Fate to use their rendition. So, I mean, we've been using their version for a while. And then, I mean, more or less, when you hear Youth Gone Wild and you see me and Creed and the people who've known us for years, you're like, you're not so young anymore. I'm like, hey.
You're only as young as you feel, you know. And when you're in professional wrestling, I mean, there are guys who are still out there that are 50 years old, 55. I mean, look at Ric Flair. He retired when he was like 60, 62, you know. So, I mean, he still felt young and got into that ring. You know, obviously, you know, he probably doesn't know what that could do to him. You know, people have died in the ring, you know, but, you know, that's just how we feel, you know. As long as we feel young, Youth Gone Wild is going to be there, you know.
It's fine.
I'll put it this way: we feel young the day of. The day after, not so much.
Is that gotten harder? Like the day after all these years?
Dude, I remember when we first started tagging. I was amped up and jacked up and good to go day of, and then the next day I'd be a little bit sore. Now it's like, hey, I'm jacked up, good to go, you know, on that high the day of, and then like the week later, I'm like, oh, come on, man, let's get these wheels going again.
And you're still so young, you know, and it's hard. I can't believe I was at the park with my kids today. I couldn't get like through the whole like circle of what is it, the handbars or something?
Yeah.
I felt humiliated. But anyways, enough about me. So Matt, you grew up in Mount Prospect.
Correct.
Tom, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Westmont.
Okay. Is that far from Champaign?
Oh God, yeah.
Okay. I was telling Matt that's where I live now. So, I don't know where it is in relation to anything.
So Westmont is it's a west suburb of Chicago. I'm about probably 45 minutes from the Loop.
Oh, okay,
if you're familiar with like Downers Grove, Darien, Hinsdale, stuff like that. So,
so not too far from anything.
Fun fact for me is where I grew up was probably only about a 15-minute drive from where Randy Savage lived in Downers Grove.
I knew you were going to say that, and only because I watched his documentary a couple of weeks ago, and that like clicked to me.
You're talking the DVD that they came out with like 6 or 7 years ago?
Yeah, the one that like was the documentary, not the one that was like 3 discs of all his other stuff.
Okay, yeah. I've got them both. And the funny thing is when they were shooting that in Downers Grove, I was actually downtown, and they were saying, "Hey, you guys, you can't be around here right now." I was like, "I want to go get food from the pizza place."
Yeah,
nope,
I need to.
I was like,
eat.
"Come on."
Oh, that's fun. Did you know what was being filmed at the time?
Oh yeah.
okay.
They had WWE production. They had a production truck there, so it was like, all right, well, I know what's going on here.
Yeah, totally. So
I didn't even have to ask, hey, what are you filming for? Like, you're in Downers Grove? Yeah, I know what you're doing here.
Oh, that's hilarious. So were you a wrestling fan growing up?
Yes.
And Matt, you were as well, I assume?
Oh, yeah.
When did that come onto your radar? What was going on in wrestling at the time?
For me, when I was... I think, you know, probably around like 1993 was when it was really big for me. Around like probably like WrestleMania with Yokozuna and everything.
Okay.
You know, I grew up watching a lot of Owen Hart. And he's actually the inspiration for me to become a wrestler, and he's the reason why I am a wrestler. But yeah, I would say probably around like, you know, 1993. I was probably about I was 3 years old.
Oh my God.
You're a year older than me, and I was 2 in '93.
Can you do one better?
Yes.
Were you watching in '93?
Was I? God,
Yeah.
I mean, I may have been, but I don't remember it.
You'd have to have
That's
been
the
told
thing, you know.
that you were.
That's the thing, you know. I could have been watching a little bit earlier. I know that my dad had me sitting in front of a TV when I was a baby, but you know, you don't really remember things till you're, you know, closer to the age of 5 or so, you know.
Yeah.
That's where it picks up for me. Like, I remember as a kid, God, you remember the old school LJN figures? They're like this big.
Of course.
So my brother had those, and I remember growing up with those, but not even knowing like what it was on TV. I remember growing up with the LJN figures. We had the ring. We had all the figures.
Steel cage.
Like, I mean, when I say all, we had like 30 of them.
Oh, you were the kid I was always so jealous of.
Well, the thing is like, I just knew they were little action figure, like rubber guys, and I didn't know who was who, so I couldn't tell you who Big John Studd was from Hulk Hogan, besides that Hulk Hogan had like the belt around his waist. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But for me,
bald. Come on.
Right? Like, what
that's right. I forgot about that.
But for me, growing up, it's funny because I grew up watching WCW with my dad, and I hated it. I always liked going back to WWF at the time. And
did he prefer WCW?
He did, because that's where all the older guys that he grew up
true.
watching went, like Ric Flair and all that.
Mm-hmm.
The Road Warriors were in WCW at the time. You had the Four Horsemen. You know, you had all the stuff that he grew up watching. I mean, you got to remember, my dad grew up watching Dick the Bruiser and the Crusher and, you know, Baron von Raschke and all that, and going to the Chicago Amphitheater years ago.
Oh, wow.
So the funny thing is I actually still have it. It's around my house somewhere. The first ever pay-per-view I ever watched was Night of the Skywalkers, where it was the Road Warriors versus the Midnight Express, where James Cornette. Yeah, Jimmy Cornette. He monkey barred the scaffold. Bubba Rogers supposed to catch him, and he just looked there and blew out both his knees.
Didn't he break his hip or something?
What was that?
Didn't he break his hip or something from the fall?
No, he blew out both his knees.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And he jacked both of his ankles, blew out both of his knees, and and that was my very first like introduction to wrestling. Like, I have the VHS.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know how well it plays, but you know, that I remember watching that multiple times.
So, were your guys' parents supportive of you becoming pro wrestlers?
My mom wasn't.
Your mom wasn't?
My dad was okay with it, but
that's what I figured.
Before I did wrestling, I did 14 years of ice hockey, and during those 14 years, 2 of those years I did wrestling and hockey at the same time.
Oh wow!
So for 12 years, you could say I did ice hockey before wrestling. So I was around physical, you know, semi-violent sport my entire life since kindergarten. And when I told my mom, I was like, hey, I want to get into professional wrestling. My mom's like, oh, okay, Tommy, okay, yeah, whatever.
You want to be an astronaut too?
Yeah. And my dad, he was like, why not? I could see him doing it. Okay. And my parents were like, well, if you can find a school, we'll look into it, you know.
Did
45 minutes later, I pull up printed paper. I'm like, I found a school.
And that was where it started. Did they did your hockey experience prepare you at all for the training of being a pro wrestler?
So if you were to ask some of my trainers, you would definitely say yes. And then if you were to ask some of the guys I trained with, you might say no.
Okay.
Coming from hockey, I was definitely a hothead. I had the cardio. At the time, I could probably run along with the best of them. I had wind for days. But as far as for the cardio went, yes. Lower body strength, yes. But like I said, I was a hothead. So if something happened in practice, I'd lip off. And sometimes I lipped off just to lip off. And
I could attest for that.
Yeah. I mean, there's many times where me and Creed would be at practice, and like I say it still, a lot of the guys we trained with are the last of a dying breed. Like me and Creed are the last of a dying breed from our class. There's not a lot of people left. And I mean, I could probably count on less than one hand out of those guys that are still here, and me and Creed being two of them.
Wow.
And everyone after that wanted to be trained soft. They wanted to, they wanted to be wrestler, but not put in the work, not want to get beat up, not want to train, not want to run, not want to bump. Where
did you ever meet other like people you're training with who like weren't even into wrestling as like a kid?
I can't say so.
Okay.
I think anybody that we actually trained with was always a fan growing up with it.
Mm-hmm. And so, Matt,
I can't think of anybody really who wasn't a big fan of it. I mean, no.
Okay. And Matt, when did you decide that you were gonna pursue training to be a pro wrestler?
I decided it was probably in high school.
Okay.
I actually went down to the College and Career Center in my high school, and
tell me you were looking for the booth.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was just looking around, trying to figure out what the best career would be for me. I'm more of a hands-on learner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to. I can study from a book, but just to retain information is kind of hard for me. So I went down to the College Career Center and I talked to the lady who was running it at the time, and I just said, just jokingly, like, yeah, one of my hobbies is watching professional wrestling, and it's a dream,
Yeah.
Not thinking that I could really do it, to go out there and perform. And she goes, oh, my son's a wrestler. And I go, really? And she's like, yeah, I'll give you his phone number. You can talk to him, whatever. Wow. Little did I know that her son was Christopher Nowinski.
Really?
So, yeah. So at the time, he was like the top heel for WWE. Like Vince McMahon loved this guy. And I talked to him a little, and he gave me some great advice and everything. So about my junior year, I started looking up companies out here in Illinois, and I came across Pro Championship Wrestling. I asked my parents if I could do that. They said, as soon as you graduate high school, let's go.
Sure.
My dad wasn't as supportive as my mom. My mom was still kind of scared because it's professional wrestling, you can get hurt, but I was playing football in high school, so I broke an arm playing football. So how much more can I break,
Totally.
But no, yeah, I pursued it right after high school. Just got in and met my trainers. And
did your football background prepare you for training, like stamina, taking a beating?
a little bit. Professional wrestling is a lot different from any other sport. Like Tom with hockey or me with football, it's those are, with Tom, it's on skates, and you could be, your cardio is running around, but you could also stop. With football, it's a stop and go, short sprint type of thing. Whereas this is a little bit different. It's just nonstop go, and when you do stop, you're still going to be out of breath because imagine if you're running down the street and I'm just smacking you on the back. You're losing that breath, and that's what happens when you don't regulate your breath when you hit the ropes. So you have to learn how to regulate your breath. You have to learn, it's there are a lot of differences, but some of the things did help. Some of it,
So is singles training different than training as a tag team? Besides that you guys are working together, but are like the fundamentals the same?
Yeah, everything's pretty much the same.
Okay.
The only thing with training as a tag team is obviously you need both guys to be, kind of in the same mindset and have the same goals in mind. There are going to be some differences. There are probably some differences between me and Tom. I don't think we really talk about it or bring it out or care about it, but our goal is to become one of the best tag team, and to hold as many championships and show that, show what we've got to offer,
Sure.
And we both decided we're going to get into the ring. We're going to train together. I mean, we've gone to the gym together once or twice, I think. I mean, there are times that, obviously he lives in a different town than I do, and he works different shifts than I do,
Yeah.
and so we're not going to be able to do everything together.
Sure.
But
Did
I mean, as much as we can.
Did you guys were kind of thrown together as a tag team? You didn't know each other, or did?
Correct. So we were so basically what happened was in Midlothian, we had an event going on, and at the time, Tom and I were both singles competitors, and the company didn't know what to do with us.
Okay.
So we were both brought into the locker room, and we were basically given a chance to tag together. And we were basically told that if this wasn't going to work, then you guys are, just going to have to go your own ways and then leave the company, because they didn't have anything for us as far as singles competitors. No storylines, no nothing. So,
had you been pissed off about that?
It was, I think, yeah, I mean, there was a little bit, inside that I was, like, seriously, like, you can't write a storyline, you can't, do this, do that. But I looked at Tom and I was like, this is kind of like a challenge, and
Sure.
Up to that point, Tom and I, we wrestled in one match together. And as far as practices go, we were going at that point, we were going to different practices. We didn't really practice together much. And when we did, there were, like maybe 6 or 7 other people at those practices. So talking to him, we didn't really talk to each other much, except for maybe like shaking the hands in the locker room, saying hi or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we went out there and we knocked the house down. We were told we got match of the night. They said that they were going to keep us together and everything. So, I mean, yeah, I was a little bit pissed, but I saw it more as a challenge.
Did you feel it that it was working during this first match with Tom?
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, when we were in the locker room, I even asked him, like, what do you want to do for, a tag move? Like, we want to show that we're young. We want to show that we can still go, do all this stuff. And so we came up with, we call it the rocker style. It's just a double hip toss, elbow drop, and we both kip up at the end. And I mean, it kind of became one of our trademarks at first, and we were using it every single match. And then that was like our only tag move for like the first, like almost the first year, I'd say. And then we just started, getting into more tag moves, different tag moves. And we picked up our game a lot.
And it's just you and him training in the ring, just working on just getting on the same page and clicking.
Yeah, I mean, so basically they run practice like Saturdays, Sundays, and Thursdays.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, Wednesdays. And so on Wednesdays, I became a trainer at a point, and Tom would come by and we'd run practice. Sometimes even together, and then afterwards we'd stay a little bit after with like maybe 2 or 3 guys, and we just work on tag moves and stuff. Sometimes we'd go there on a Saturday, and maybe after the practice we'd sit there again with like 2 or 3 guys just working on our tag moves, and we'd have like basically like scrimmages, some kind of matches just to see what we had. So the other guys would throw stuff at us, and we'd try to, get out of things. And, yeah. So.
Oh, that's cool.
What did I miss?
You missed
everything.
Yeah, Matt gave out his credit card number and the 3-digit code. So
Great.
I'm going out after this.
Yeah, right.
So, Tom, so you guys kind of split up for a couple years in 2014 through 2018.
Roughly, yeah.
Okay. Did you guys enjoy singles wrestling?
So for me, I always say that Tom Heisman went off the rails a little bit.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
started doing a little bit more crazy things. There was a name change in there. But for the most part, during my time away from Youth Gone Wild, about half of it was doing a singles thing, and then the other half was tagging up with some other guys and just learning more from them, while also so I tagged with a vet of 20 some years, and then I tagged with another one of our colleagues that we trained with when we were in Pro Championship Wrestling, and he was always a singles guy. So, and I've always been a tag guy. Like, that's what I enjoy. It's my bread and butter. That's my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And he asked me, he's like, hey, do you want to tag? I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? And so I was teaching him the ins and outs of tag and, you know, how to make it work and, you know, the bread and butter of it all. Were you
able to work in other promotions that you hadn't when you guys were a tag team?
For the most part, after we split in PCW, after PCW closed, I worked mainly for one other company for about 3 years. Then that company closed, and I started tagging it with or working in global professional wrestling. I want to call it global wrestling. That's not right. And then shortly towards the end of that is when I messaged Creed. I was like, hey, it's been 4 or 5 years.
Oh, so you guys hadn't been in touch in that long?
We were on and off.
Okay.
I think we both enjoyed the time away from each other just because we were connected at the hip for so long.
So you guys were with each other, traveling?
No.
Okay.
Now, there were times when I was with the company after PCW closed, and I was with the other company for about 3 years. I helped with like the higher up stuff and some booking and stuff like that. And if there was ever an opening, I'd message Creed like, "Hey, I got a spot for you. Do you want it?" And I think you came in 3 times. You did 2 Royals and a singles match, and that singles match was against me. And so it's not like you had to worry about working somebody you weren't comfortable with.
Exactly.
So, Matt, when you got the call from Tom, were you like excited to like do this again?
Yeah, he just called me out of the blue and he was like, "Hey, you want to tag?" And I mean, to be honest with you, he's called me on multiple occasions, and I've called, and we've always joked around, like, hey, what if we get what if we tag again, this and that, and it was kind of like, I think we were kind of joking around with it and trying to get our feet wet.
Serious. I was dead serious.
And then he just called me and goes, you want to go to Global Pro and tag there? And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm down for it, as long as there's a spot, I'm cool. And we got in there and we knocked the house
and
down.
Then were you guys like, all right, let's take on another booking? And
well, at first it started, so we needed a practice company to knock our tag reps off, because we hadn't tagged together for close to 4 or 5 years.
Sure.
So we were good friends with Seymour Butts, who runs Powerhouse Wrestling Extreme.
Okay.
And he was familiar with us from the old Galley days when we were back there. Probably back in 2012.
Okay.
Something like that, yeah.
And so we were like, hey, we're going to tag up. We're going to start tagging again. Do you want to bring us in? He's like, yeah. So, we used Powerhouse Wrestling Extreme as our rust breaker to, get back in ring shape as a tag team. Honestly, I think the first 5 minutes of our match tagging up together for the first time in 5 years was probably the roughest. After that, it was pretty much smooth sailing. It was basically us just trying to get our tag timing back, because individually when we're in the ring in a tag match, we're good to go.
Yeah.
Nothing changes there. It's when you're getting your timing down with your tag partner, when you're performing your tag move and all that other stuff. You got to get that timing back, and that I think that only took maybe 5 minutes.
That's amazing.
And it was just instantaneous. It was like, all right, back in the wheelhouse. Let's go. It's 2014 again. Let's go.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, fellas, I'm going to let you go shortly. I have a lot more questions to ask, but I'm going to save those if you guys aren't repulsed enough for a part 2 at another time.
I'm fine with coming back.
I'm cool.
Okay.
I'm down with that.
Can I ask you guys 5 random non-wrestling related yes or no questions? And you can just say yes or no, or you could say more. It's up to you.
Go ahead.
Okay. For $450,000 over 4 years, would you guys legally marry each other, but you'd be responsible for the divorce costs at the end of the 4 years?
I mean, we're already a tag team. No.
Okay. All right. Whatever.
I was gonna say, when I joined up back in this chat, you probably saw my profile picture. I'm happily in a relationship.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Outside of this one.
It's a standing offer, guys. If anything ever changes, you can get back to me about that. Have you ever given each other an illness?
Like
ringworm? Or,
no. You know what?
Parasite?
I think we've both been lucky. We haven't had any kind of disease or anything from knock on wood, from wrestling,
Maybe a headache.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe a headache, yeah.
I know I've given you plenty.
All right. Have you either of you dated someone the other fancied?
Not really dated, but I helped Creed get married, kind of.
Oh, you're a nice wingman. All right. Have you ever fallen asleep on the toilet?
Oh God, yeah.
Okay, Matt.
Yeah, when I was drunk.
Okay. Hey,
I got it
nothing to
sober
be
and
ashamed
drunk.
about.
So.
Okay, and then this was the last one. Does it feel good, like walking down the street, knowing that you could probably take anybody who's, else is on the street in a fight?
I mean, I work a haunted house in October, and they kind of look at me like indoor security. So I was like, all right.
All right. Well, it's more like
So I guess
walk down
maybe,
the street in fear, generally. I imagine you guys have some confidence. Knowing if shit went down, you guys can
I've definitely walked around the mall a couple.
Okay.
I've definitely walked around the mall multiple times and said I could kick the shit out of that guy.
Oh, yeah, totally. All right, guys, where are you? I know you're wrestling for Scotland Championship Wrestling again in April, but anything coming up between now and then?
Right now we are open for bookings. Due to the COVID, it's really hard. And now winter's coming, so out here it's gonna start snowing pretty soon.
Totally.
So travel's gonna get kind of expensive and everything.
Hopefully everything comes together.
But no, we are open for bookings.
All right.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. But we're just open for bookings right now, and hopefully by April, the COVID is completely
totally, and that's reasonable to think.
Hopefully.
All right, Matt, Tom, thank you guys so much for coming on again. I definitely want to have you on because I have like 25 other questions I wanted to get to, but I have to put these monsters to bed. You guys stay safe, and I will keep an eye out for you guys, and we'll talk soon. Thank you so much.
Sounds good.
All right, take care, fellas.
All right.
Bye.